The federal government, at the bequest of DHS, finally began enforcing the national Real ID law on May 7, after nearly 2 decades of delays. After that date, federal agencies, including the TSA, say they will accept only state-issued driver's licenses and ID cards that meet Real ID requirements. Applicants will have to provide certain identifying information, such as social security numbers, to get the Real ID. Other forms of ID, such as passports and permanent resident cards, will still be allowed to board a plane. But it does mean that state-issued driver's licenses that aren't Real ID compliant will no longer be accepted. This may mean greater scrutiny otherwise for passengers. A lot of proponents feel that the newly enforced Real ID is the greatest thing ever, that its promotion of stopping illegal border crossings and securing U.S. elections make it the perfect tool. Many, however, see the Real ID as a slippery slope to more tyranny, that it actually is establishing what most Americans have rejected in the past, a national or eventually global ID. And the facial recognition software maps your face, measuring the distances between key facial characteristics, such as your lips, ears, nose, and eyes. The Real ID Act gives the DHS Secretary unprecedented powers to solely determine for what official purposes citizens must present a compliant driver's license. For example, it allows the Secretary to perhaps add the purchase of a weapon and/or the purchase of ammunition to the list of official purposes. It could also add to require Real ID licenses to pick up a prescription. Former DHS Secretary Michael Chertoff said years ago that embracing Real ID would mean it would be used to cash a check, hire a babysitter, board a plane, or engage in countless other activities. The Real ID develops a national system that tightly links the records of all drivers and state ID holders, virtually every American. It will serve as a one-stop shop of highly sensitive personal information, including Social Security numbers, birth dates, and addresses. Many privacy experts worry that the central ID system will be an irresistible treasure trove for identity thieves, terrorists, and other computer criminals. The MRZ, or machine-readable zone, of a Real ID-compliant driver's license is not currently encrypted. DHS has felt that encrypting the MRZ would create technical challenges to law enforcement officers in the field or in other locations. Criminals and retailers have already used the unencrypted MRZ of driver's licenses for their own mischievous purposes. Back to the facial recognition digital image required by Real ID, the standard is an adopted standard by the international community, following ISO, International Organization for Standardization Requirements. It appears that the goal of DHS is really to not focus on the ID document, but to focus on use of biometrics. The FBI has spent over $1 billion to create the world's largest biometric database. While facial recognition is the only biometric that allows for the capture of a biometric sample at a distance, it's clear that DHS and others may want to also be able to use iris scans and fingerprints too. It's not too much of a reach to see the day when the Real ID will require a digital ID on everyone's phone. If that happens, don't be surprised to have your phone ID scanned to enter stores, sporting events, concerts, and to make most, if not all, purchases. From there, the ugly truth may show itself: a government-controlled social credit score on our smartphones, like in China. A system where bad behavior, bad reputations, speaking out against government, and so on, may penalize Americans for making some purchases and to restrict receiving benefits and having other societal privileges. In closing, any national or global ID concerns many people have are for the religious implications of such a system of identification that links our body to our ability to buy, sell, work, and travel. The Bible in Revelation 13:16-17 warns Christians not to take what is called the mark of the beast. Without it, most people won't be able to buy and sell. But taking the mark and pledging allegiance to the global one-world government will exclude anyone from entering eternal life. So that's why we have to be very careful on all these efforts to brand and spy on us in exchange for peace and safety. We'll keep an eye on this. This is H.A. Graves.